Welcome back to Good Morning San Diego. Some important new laws will officially go into effect in the new year, and that's just a few days away. Attorney Vikas Bajaj, did I say it right?
That's right, yes.
Okay, here to give us some details on those laws. So you were just telling me a really important one, the one that's going to affect Californians the most. Taxes, yeah?
Oh, absolutely. You know, there's an acronym SALT, state and local taxes, and that's worked into the federal legislation that's just been passed and signed by President Trump on Friday, finally, after a lot of fighting with the House and the Senate and negotiations, I guess we could say. But basically what it does is it makes home ownership a lot less attractive for state residents, people who live in New Jersey, New York, and California. The reason for that is it used to be the case that individual homeowners could deduct an infinite amount of mortgage interest, and that all is dependent upon the equity in the house that you're borrowing against, right? What's happened now with the new legislation is the SALT measure, which is a state and local taxes, has put a cap on that. So the cap is one that allows us only to take out $10,000 total of deductions for our state income taxes and our property taxes. Compounding that effect on home ownership, however, would be the federal legislation that only allows us to deduct interest, which is attached to $750,000 of equity. You and I were just talking on the break a moment before coming on air about the average price of a home in San Diego, much less California. And I don't exactly know, I'm not the guru on it, but I would put it somewhere between $500,000 and $600,000.
Yeah.
And you look at that as the average published home price.
Right.
It's just a shade over that, $750,000 that you can borrow against and still deduct that interest. It makes home ownership, in my opinion, in states like New Jersey, California, very expensive states like New York, who tax a lot, much less attractive. That also makes it less attractive for new homeowners to enter the market, which I predict will cause even more of a chilling effect on the supply that we are now seeing effects of here in San Diego.
Oh, yeah, because everybody knows rents are expensive, too.
And they're going to keep on going up. You know, if it's not attractive for homeowners to come on in and take that almighty tax deduction, that interest deduction, well, the incentive for home ownership is that much lower versus renting on the market.
Now, the one hot-button issue everybody's talking about, marijuana. That's one of the new laws that will go into effect coming up here.
That's right, January 1st, 2018. This is something that we've looked forward to or looked horribly forward to. It depends on which way you look at it. But in my practice in Bajaj Defense, we represent people and organizations and entities that are charged criminally and also by municipal codes. Well, that falls square within the crosshairs of the city of San Diego, as we know, through the new city administration and the old city administration. There has been just a zealous, perhaps overzealous focus on dispensaries. So now what we see is the legalization giving birth to legal dispensaries that can now sell recreationally. What the actual effect will be remains to be seen. I remember talking about this issue about 4 or 5 years ago regarding Colorado and Washington. At that time, Colorado was taxing 28%, and we said, boy, that's just a lot. Well, we can look forward to what happened in Colorado and Washington happening here in California. You'd probably look forward to greater than 50% or pretty close to 50% sales taxes for these businesses. Recreational will obviously be taxed more, medicinal sales a little bit less.
And talk a little bit about the gun laws, the workarounds with that.
Oh, absolutely. We could talk about gun laws for probably a couple of hours, and as a gun owner myself, I pay close attention to that. We can see through the administration here in California, for good or for bad, there's a consistent effort to make it very difficult for law-abiding citizens to own weapons, and also the caliber of the weapons. Now, the logic is, of course, these mass shootings are very tragic because of the fact that they are high-capacity weapons that can be in the hands of a criminal or ill-minded person that may have a malignant heart. Well, the interesting thing about that globally is this. Now, in my office, as I indicated, I represent those who have been accused wrongfully or rightfully of criminal offenses. And I can tell you one thing that is across the board. Those with a malignant heart, and those who are accused of significant crimes and may be guilty of those crimes, do not open up the California Penal Code, and they do not open up the United States Code to look at state and federal regulations to ask themselves, well, before I pull off this bank robbery or a mass shooting that's going to affect a ton of people, I need to make sure my assault weapon qualifies and it's not illegal. The bottom line is criminals or people who may act with a malignant heart are not those who are worried about the regulations. Those who are worried about the regulations are, by definition, law-abiding citizens or people who are law-abiding and care about the law. Some may argue that puts individual law-abiding citizens at a distinct disadvantage. That's a very big argument in a debate that hopefully you'll invite me back and we can spend 2 days talking about that.
There we go. Well, thank you so much for coming in and sharing some of the information on the new laws that'll be hitting people coming up in just a few days here.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right, we're going to have